Hello everyone, today I am here to do a review of a Spinetinglers book, the very last book in the series, and that is book number 30, Saber-Toothed Tiger. And this was actually a buddy read with my good friend Goosebumps Completionist. I'll post a link to his video, his review for this down in the description below. And this is a book that I just uploaded a video on. This book happens to be extremely rare, and I felt a little bit weird about reading it, like it's some kind of sacred text that shouldn't be touched because of how insanely rare this book is. But yeah, we decided to do a buddy read on this one. And this one was written by Jim D. Felice, or Felice, however you pronounce his name. And I believe he wrote at least one other Spinetinglers book, maybe a couple of others. I can't think of what they are off the top of my head. I haven't watched Goosebumps Completionist's review on this yet. I will probably do that after I upload my review. And this is a book that this is probably going to be a short review, if I'm being honest. I'm going to be just kind of very upfront about it. So in Saber-Toothed Tiger, basically we have our main character who invites his neighbor over for dinner, who I think also happens to be like one of his school teachers that teaches history, I believe. And she doesn't show up. Him and his family are supposed to have like this big dinner, and their teacher doesn't show up, or their neighbor. And they decide to go looking for her. They go over to her house. She's not there. There's a bunch of cat hair everywhere. And there are these three like house cats like hanging around the house and just kind of like staring and watching our main character. Our main character, I believe his name is Alan. He's like creeped out by these cats. He finds something like suspicious about their behavior. He thinks that somehow these cats, even they're just like three ordinary house cats, and he thinks that they're somehow tied to their neighbor's disappearance. They can't find their neighbor anywhere. Her car and all of her belongings are still in the house, and she just somehow is like disappeared. And there are a couple of instances later in the story, as the story progresses, where he encounters these three house cats in various situations. And our main character, Alan, he's very like creeped out by them. And there's a couple of moments where he thinks the cats are talking. He thinks he hears them whispering and like talking to each other. He even thinks he hears one of the cats say something to him. And that's pretty much what we get like in the entire first half of this book. This book is about 120 pages, about average length for a kid's horror story. And the first 60 pages is just the kid going about his daily life at school, wondering what happened to his teacher, though not really much becomes of it. They don't really investigate a whole lot. I think they do get the police involved, but the police can't do anything about it because she hasn't been missing for that long. It has to be at least 48 hours or something along those lines. And so the main character goes about his daily life. He goes to school. He's very freaked out about these cats. His parents notice that he's acting strange and that something's like going on with them. And he's kind of embarrassed to be scared by these cats, but he is convinced that something fishy is going on with them, that these cats are evil. And then, as the story kind of progresses, things take sort of a weird turn. And he discovers that there's like this ancient Native American tribe that Alan is a descendant of. And he learns that there was this tribe of what we call cat people, I guess, hundreds of years ago. And basically these Native Americans found and rescued this puma that was near death, and they nursed it back to health. And this puma essentially gave them powers to be able to change into cat people. And so Alan deduces that these cats are cat people, and sure enough, he discovers that they are. These cats are after him, and he assumes that they must have eaten his neighbor and his history teacher. And yeah, this book, I don't even know. It's so from there, I guess I'll keep carrying on with the story. I'll tell you kind of what happens. Minor spoiler alert, I guess. Most of you probably won't ever be able to read this book because of how rare it is. So I assume you probably don't care anyway. But because Alan is also like a descendant of this Native American tribe, he also has the power to turn into a cat person. His like great-great-grandfather or something was a part of this. And so Alan basically turns into a saber-toothed tiger towards the end of this book, like at page 90 out of 120. So yeah, even though this book is advertising the Saber-Toothed Tiger, we don't see it until within the last like 30 pages of the book. And essentially, he turns into the Saber-Toothed Tiger. He meets some other of these cat people that are called the Goods. And then he learns that there is like these two separate tribes of cat people, the Goods and the Bads. That's what they are called, quite literally. And so he has to join up with this tribe of good cat people to defeat the evil, the bad cat people. And he transforms into a saber-toothed tiger by simply wishing it, basically. He just imagines himself transforming, and then he can transform at will into a saber-toothed tiger. And then within these tribes of cat people, there are various other cats, not just the saber-tooth. You have leopards, pumas, tigers, lions, pretty much every wild cat you can imagine. And then at the very end, like within the last 10 pages of the book, there's this big battle between, not even really between the tribes, it's pretty much just Alan in the form of the Saber-Tooth battling these three evil cats from the bad tribe who are trying to attack his younger sister. And then that's pretty much the climax of the book, is him just battling these evil cats. We don't really get much explanation behind all of this as to why this is, other than, you know, this Native American tribe nursed this dying puma back to health and it somehow granted them magical powers because of it. That's about as much explanation as we get. So yeah, that's pretty much the plot of this one. And I don't really have much positive to say about it. I do tend to like animal type stories. I like stories about cats. I don't know why, I've just always really been into that subgenre. However, this is not a good example of that at all. This was not a good book. Like I said, this is going to be a very short review. I'm just going to be upfront about this. This book was kind of bad. I'm trying to like think of something positive to say about it, something that I like, but I'm really struggling here. It had kind of a cool concept, I guess. There's some elements in here of like mysticism and like fantasy. You know, it's kind of like far out. It has, I guess, some kind of creative concept to it, but that's really as much praise as I can think to give it. Everything else about this book sucks. The writing is really bland. There's like no prose to this whatsoever. The writing almost reminds me a little bit of like Jonathan Rand's writing from the American Chillers and Michigan Chillers books. It's just super bland. There's really nothing significant happening in this story for like the first 70, 80 pages. It's just the main character freaking out and being worried about these three house cats following him and thinking there's something evil about them. That's like the majority of this book, honestly. It's super boring. And all of this crazy fantasy stuff that we get with these cat people and this tribe and them being able to transform into cats, it might be kind of a cool idea. It might sound cool on paper, but it is executed so poorly. There's no explanation for any of it. It just feels very random. And I didn't care about anything that happened in this book. I didn't care about any of the characters in here. I was kind of like skimming this towards the end. I like just kind of rushed through the last like 30, 40 pages because I just didn't really care, to be honest. This was not good. For all of those who are trying to collect these Spinetinglers books or trying to find this extremely rare book, you're not really missing out on much. It's still cool to have this. I'm glad to have it in my collection. I don't plan on selling it, but yeah, you're not missing out on much. This book was kind of awful. It's not the worst thing that I've ever read. I'll have to check and see the other Spinetinglers books that I've read. I read another one that was really bad too, called My Dentist is a Vampire, which is actually the one that precedes this book, number 29. And that one, I believe I gave the same rating as this book, which is a 1.5 out of 5 stars. Yes, that is what I decided on for this book as my final rating, a 1.5 out of 5, because it's not quite the worst thing that I've ever read out of kids' horror books. I've read a lot worse than this. But I just did not enjoy this at all. The writing sucks. The plot is not good. It's boring. It's just really dull. Yeah. I don't know what to say about this one. It's Saber-Toothed Tiger by Jim D. Felice, book number 30 in the Spinetingler series. So yeah, sorry for a fast, boring review, but that's pretty much what this book was. It's just boring. Not a lot to say about it. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. That's all I have for today, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.